I'm quite excited about this test ride. I'm really looking forward to test riding both the Interceptor and the Classic 350, but I have to admit the Interceptor 650 is the one I'm most keen to test ride. It's the bike I could see myself buying, and if the test ride goes as I imagine it might, then I could see myself putting up my NC 750X for sale and buying the Interceptor 650. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see how it goes. Okay, the first bike up today is the Royal Enfield Classic 350, and here it is. I'm not going to get hung up on specifications today. Today is all about just test riding the bike and seeing what they're like to ride. I want to see what the power's like. I don't care what the number is, I just want to see what the power feels like on the road. Can you sit on the highway on this bike, and just what does it feel like to ride? Like, my expectation is it's going to have a lot of character, but yeah, we'll see how we go. And what I think I'll do is I'll create two separate videos, one for the Classic 350 and one for the Interceptor 650. And what I'll also do is I'll put all the specs as a ticker running along the bottom of the video for the entire length of the video, I think. So at any time you can just glance down and look at the specs of each of the bikes. Like I said, today I'm not really fussed about specs. I'm really just want to see what the bike's like to ride and what the experience is like. While I'm here, I just want to say a big thank you to Mark and Justin and the team at Indian Motorcycle in Ballarat for giving me the opportunity to test ride this Classic 350 and Interceptor 650. So if you're looking for an Indian, if you're looking for Royal Enfield, if you're looking for Benelli, if you're looking for a Soco, and even Segway, come and see the guys down here at Indian Motorcycle in Ballarat. Okay, now it's not much to this bike. It's nice and simple. All you really have is your run, stop, start switch, your ignition key, and you're good to go. Initial impressions of just sitting here is it's a very natural, comfortable riding position. Clutch has a little bit of a interesting feel, but anyway, we'll get used to that. So turn that to there. Yeah, run, ignition on. Actually like the gauge here, it's nice and simple. Fuel, time, okay. Fires up quite easy. This is that classic single cylinder sound. I'm noticing that yeah, those pegs are right where your feet are going to be. So the Royal Enfield Classic 350, after riding it on the highway, some backcountry roads, through the city, what are my thoughts on the bike? Well, it's quite a nice little bike to ride actually. Let's talk about some of the features of the bike, and that's first of all the riding position. For my height, 6'1", I felt it was a little bit cramped, a little bit tight. It still was, wouldn't say it was uncomfortable, but I felt a little bit more cramped up. So jumping on the bike's nice and easy. Seat's very comfortable. And that's my riding position. Very neutral. Like I said, I feel a little bit tight, a little bit cramped on it, but otherwise it's definitely a very comfortable riding position. Power-wise, it's certainly got enough power for around town and just back country roads. But on the freeway, I found that at 100 kilometres an hour or 60 miles an hour was really where I felt I didn't want to really take it any higher than that. I did give it a good twist at that speed and there wasn't much there. And even at 100 kilometres an hour, I felt I had to coax it up to that speed. It certainly sit right at 100 kilometres an hour and I felt I could do that all day long. It's just I wouldn't want to go any faster than that, I felt. Just engine performance wise. I think if I owned the bike and I took it on the freeway or highway, 100 kilometres an hour is what I would sit at as its peak speed. It gets up to 80 kilometres an hour quite alright, no problems at all. But then from 80 to 100 you really got to coax it and you know, encourage it to get up to that speed. But once you get to 100 kilometres an hour, then it certainly will sit there all day, I feel, until you hit a hill, or if you're riding into high winds, well then I think the bike might be pushing a little bit. Now, seat comfort, I found the seat to be very comfortable. It does tend to sit you in one position. There's not a lot of room to move around on it, but the position that you sit in is very, very comfortable. The rear passenger seat also looks very comfortable. I think someone could sit on there for a little bit of time, no problems at all. Suspension wise, it actually felt pretty good actually. It gave a nice compliant ride and handled very well. It's a very neutral handling bike. Certainly had no problems turning into corners and things like that, and taking bends with ease and you know, and at a bit of speed, no problems at all. Stability on the highway, I felt, I wouldn't say it was you know, 100% confidence inspiring handling wise on the highway, and I think that could be the tyres. I did feel like I was getting a little bit of movement out of those tyres, so probably if you bought this bike and you're doing highway work, I would certainly perhaps look at upgrading the tyres at some point. Braking, yeah, the brakes were certainly not a problem at all. Not at any point did I feel that it was lacking braking wise. There's plenty of stopping power there for this motorcycle and for the speeds you're going to be riding this motorcycle at. The clutch action is nice and light, didn't feel any issue with that. There's not a lot of travel on the clutch, so your engagement point, like you've got this fair bit of free play here, as you can see at what this is set up at. Probably could be adjusted a little bit, I reckon, to take half of that out. So by the time your clutch engages, as soon as you let it out, it's starting to bite. So, but not an issue. The gear changes were nice and light, you know, feather touch gear changes really. But I did have an issue where getting my foot under the gear lever was a bit tight, and so I sort of had to just sort of change on the tip going up. Going down was no problem, but just going up through the gears. I think that's just an adjustment issue. If I owned this bike, I'd probably raise it up a little bit so I could just make it easy to get my foot under. Yeah, back to suspension. So there were a couple of bumps that I felt the suspension had sort of reached its limit on, and it gave me a bit of a kick up through the back. Only two, I reckon, out of all the bumps I went over, I felt that. Now, instrument-wise, you don't get a lot. You just get your speed, and you get a fuel gauge, odometer, and I'm sure there will be a switch here, yeah, just on here, so I can cycle through trip 1, trip 2, time, and back to odometer. So there's no gear position indicator, which, you know, it's pretty easy to ride, and I didn't at any time feel that I needed to know what gear I was in. It's pretty easy to work out. And yeah, everything was just natural and certainly a very easy bike to ride. The mirrors also found worked very well. I could see a little bit of my arm in the mirrors, but they work very well actually. I wouldn't feel the need to change those. Just looking at the bike, it looks like it's going to be a very easy bike to service and maintain. And the exhaust note from these mufflers is very pleasing. I think it's just single cylinder engines in general have a lot of character, and they do thump, which is quite nice. But having said that, I didn't feel any vibrations or anything at any time that would cause me concern. It was all very smooth, and yeah, it's actually a very nice bike to ride. So who could I see buying or owning this bike or riding this bike? Well, it's a sort of bike that you would have for weekends, city riding, country lane riding. It's not a bike I would take on long trips on the freeway or highway, but as a weekend, you know, just a weekend getaway bike, just to have a bit of a ride around on, just a bit of fun, or a commuter. Yeah, it certainly would be a nice bike to own for that sort of situation. And styling wise, I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job of it. I think it looks really, really nice in this black and gold and burgundy colour scheme too. It looks really good, although if it was me, I'd prefer the red and chrome. I think that looks, for me, that looks like the best colour scheme and combination for this bike. Well, that wraps up my test ride of the Royal Enfield Classic 350. All in all, it's a beautifully styled bike and such a sweet bike to ride, and I can understand why it's such a popular seller. But don't take my word for it, go and test ride one for yourself. Coming up next on the channel is the Interceptor 650 test ride, so look out for that one. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, bye for now.